live, guys. We are live. If you want to do the introduction, Trevor, please.
Okay. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Want to welcome you all to the Real Talk with Real Estate Investors show. Welcome back again, where we try to have some really awesome guests on the show to bring you some incredible value bombs to share with you. And that being said, we have Miss Candi Rose joining us on the show today. Now, Candi has an incredible story to share with you guys, and we'll kind of get into that here in just a little bit more. But really, one of the reasons we wanted to have her on is because she has really faced an incredible amount of adversity in her life, and she has taken it and done some incredible things. She's literally got real estate investments going on in Florida and Atlanta, and probably other parts throughout the nation. She's done a bunch of flips. She's done an incredible multi-million-dollar house that she sold a little while back, and we look forward to hearing about that as well. Hearing about her trips to Barcelona. She's actually doing everything virtual these days, so that's pretty impressive. And, you know, really honestly, Candi, we just want to welcome you to the show and say, hey, you know, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on. I've been visiting Atlanta for the holidays. I'm visiting the States because I'm living in Barcelona, like you said, and I've just been nonstop going. So now I'm starting to lose my voice, but I'm having a great time while I'm doing it all. It's been an exciting trip, and I spoke the other day at Atlanta RIA meetup, and excited to be on your show. So thank you so much. It's
been a hell of a ride, huh? This year for you, moving to Barcelona and going back to the US and all that stuff. It's crazy. I know what you're going through.
It is crazy. I mean, it took me almost a year to get everything done to move to Barcelona. I'm a single mom, so I had to jump through a bunch of hoops to get the government to allow me to take my own child out of the country, as any of you parents might know that. And, you know, just getting there, changing my business model up from what I was doing, which was just doing a ton of projects and being on site, every project manager. I'm a developer project manager is my title. And so taking myself out and then changing up the whole business model, changing up my whole life, and then literally getting to Spain was like, not easy. I had to go through the whole immigration or, you know, resident process and all that stuff. And so I've been there since July. It's been amazing. And glad to be home to visit the States. The States are amazing. I love the States even more now that I've left.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you back here. So, you know, that being said, you know, we would love to hear a little bit how all of this kind of started and you know, a little bit more about your backstory, how everything kind of came together, you know, so we'd
well, yeah, so my story is like, I try to tell a little bit about my background because it's kind of a crazy story. And if I just tell you what happened, you might be like, well, what happened? Did you have bad parents or what happened, right? And my parents were amazing. They were great. I was just a little rebellious. And when I was in high school, I was bullied for 2 years. And so this was really I think when I look back, the defining point of my life where it kind of started to spiral, because for 2 years, I was bullied by a bunch of girls and I didn't know why. You know, I was young and innocent and I was into sports and I went to church and I didn't drink, I didn't do drugs, hadn't been with a boy yet. So I was real innocent. I don't know why, why are these girls being mean to me, right? Well, I understand now why we have haters. Haters are because they're insecure. They don't, they're insecure. They don't like us because they can't be like us, right? They don't have the balls to be like us, to go out there and have the courage to do these things. And so because of that, when I ended up leaving that school, went to another school, started getting in, quit sports, started getting into drinking, smoking weed, skipping a lot of school, boys, yada, yada, yada. I barely graduated. And from there, then after high school, I started dating this guy and I got arrested. I was with him and apparently he had been watched by the DEA for a long time. I was his girlfriend. I got arrested by the DEA when I was 19. I was raving at that time because again, I was just going wild and I used to wear the blue wigs and all that. And and so here I am, like my life is kind of literally spinning out of control. And I got arrested and I got charged with possession at the time was ecstasy. And I got out, and then from there, you know, I never wanted to go to college because I didn't want another 4 years of like girls being mean to me. And so I was like, college isn't for me. Plus, I just got arrested by the DEA. Who knows what's going to happen? And so from there, I decided dancing would be a really good decision. And so I started dancing, and I was in the club and I was dancing, and it was just, again, it was just lots of drinking and drugs. And after a little bit of time, I realized like I don't want to be in this life anymore. I want to be a better person. And I got my MCSE, which is a Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer. And so from there, I actually started working for a year and a half. I built Dell laptop computers, and then I worked for a software company down in Fort Lauderdale. It was a company that we had like 6 locations. So I bought a condo. Okay. So all this is going well, right? Like I'm out of the club now. I'm working a legit job where there's good money. I just bought a condo. I'm like, you know, my life is good. I'm good. And I went home to visit my brother. This was 4 years after getting arrested initially, which I never told my family about, by the way. And when I went home that trip, that night, the DEA busted into my parents' house, shackled me with chains in front of my parents. My parents had no idea what was going on. Apparently, I had missed a court date. You know, my at the time boyfriend told me, "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it." I was young and dumb and naive. I didn't worry about it. I just thought it would go away. You know how kids are. You know, we're just like,
Sure.
whatever. And so they took me into jail. My parents are just shocked. They don't know what's going on. I know I'm in a lot of trouble. And turns out they're closing in on one of the biggest cases in the Southeast at this time. And the guy that I chose to date happened to be the ringleader of all of it. So go figure. And so, you know, now they're closing in there. I mean, people are getting taken down left and right. He's on the run. They don't know where he's at. They want him. I don't know where he's at. I hadn't talked to the guy. You know, I left. I ran away. I moved down to Florida. I was like, I'm out. I don't want to hang out with these people anymore. I'm going to get in trouble, right?
Right.
So I tell you all that because then I ended up staying in jail for 3 weeks. And then at that time, I got charged with a conspiracy charge for 20 years in prison. And I'm in prison. I mean, I'm in jail. I just lost my job because I couldn't get back. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is not good. And my nickname in jail was Barbie. Like, I cannot go to prison, you know, like that's just not where I need to be, you know?
Sure.
And I was scared and I didn't know what was going to happen. Well, luckily I got out and they ended up giving me, I had a convicted felon charge, but it was a conditional charge, which I don't know how they worked that out, but I was a felon for a few years. Eventually it got removed. So then I got out and then I have this beautiful condo. I just, you know, now I have a felon on my record. Now I can't get a real job anyways. So I go back to dancing. So I'm back in there and I'm like, you know, it's like one of those things. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to get out of places like that. It's hard to turn your life around when you're like working in a club like that or like a drug dealer. Like when you're used to making that kind of money, I mean, there's not really anywhere else you can go to make that kind of money. But I say that because like I knew I didn't want to be in there. I didn't want to be a dancer forever. I didn't like being a dancer. I love the money. I love the money, but I hated myself because I didn't like that place. So it was like the money masked everything, and I lived it. Like I bought the Beamers and I had the purses and I had cash and I didn't need anybody, and you know, but I was miserable. Like the money was great, but I was miserable, and so I was like, I gotta figure out a way to get out of here. And I was like, came home one night after being in the club. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. Carlton Sheets comes on and he's like, buy real estate, no money down. And I was like, I'm going to buy that book. $300. Now, this is back in the day when we don't have social media. We have like, you know, the good old TV stuff. And so I bought it and I read it front to back. And the only thing I really got out of spending that $300 was to go to RIAs, Real Estate Investing Associations. And so I did. And so I did whatever I could do to learn that business. And I started learning that business. In the meantime, so that's that part of why I wanted to get into that business. But what happened was 3 years after I bought that condo, I sold that condo and I made $150,000. Well, between that time, I met another guy. The guy I love y'all. I'm always gonna love y'all, but I have had some issues with some guys in the past. This is old me, right? Old Candi. So, and so I moved away with this guy. I made $150,000 by accident on the sale of my condo, the condo that I bought. And this was back in 2005. I sold it right before the boom, right? But the bust. And so I made 33% appreciation a year. I made $150,000. Bought it for 150, sold it for 300.
Can't beat that, right?
It was like, and I wasn't very good with my money. Now remember, I had been working in the club. I had blown all that money. I didn't have a dime from the club. Now I had $150,000. Let me tell you how fast that money went. Fast. So
that's crazy.
You know, and so we moved away, and then the guy that I was with that I thought I was going to marry, he ended up becoming abusive. And so now I'm in an abusive relationship. It was verbal at first, emotional, and then it got physical. And then after about a year of living together, I ended up buying a place to try to renovate it. And I did renovate it, and I was going to put it on the market and sell it. Well, I bought it for $250,000. By the time I was ready to put it on the market, it was 2007, and it was worth about $140,000. So I had blown through all my money. I put like 50 grand down. Actually, I had like 280,000 in it. So it was worth about half, 140,000. I was like, shit, this is bad. So now I've got no money. My house is going into foreclosure. The guy that I was with that was like extremely abusive, I finally got the courage to leave him. And it was really hard. I know a lot of people don't understand. If you've never been abused, you won't understand because it's a total mind fuck. But I got the courage to leave him, and it was one of the hardest things that I'd ever done because I loved him. I loved him. He didn't love me because he was evil. But I loved him. I was in love with who I thought he was, right? And so it was really, really hard. I had been beaten down so many times and told I was worthless. And he called me a, dirty, used up stripper. And he told me nobody's ever going to want me and I was never going to make anything in my life. And I believed him. And I'm like, and then he's right. I have nothing. I have a background. All I've ever done is like that. I don't have anything to show. I dropped out of college. I've got nothing. Like I got nothing to offer anybody. I don't think my life will ever turn around. I don't see how it could. And so I was contemplating suicide at that time. And this is where my real estate investing career got started because something in the middle of all that, I lost 20 pounds. I couldn't eat. My house is in foreclosure. I got no money. I'm feeling like the worthless piece of shit. And I quit the gym. I mean, I couldn't do anything. I don't even know what I was doing. And then all of a sudden, just something inside me was just like, no, this isn't the end of the road for you. This is not this is not how your story ends. Like, you got to get up, you got to fight. And I don't know where that came from. And I'm real strong in my faith now, but at the time I didn't know where that came from. And I got up after like about, a few weeks of just literally, I don't know, a few weeks, a month after leaving him and wondering what am I going to do with my life and, losing all this weight. And I just got up and I was like, okay, I'm going to fight. And I went and I took a shower. I didn't take many showers when I was depressed. I took a shower and I went into this room, this spare room of the house that I had bought, renovated. And I pulled out these books. And it was one of these seminars that I had gone to, one of the very first seminars that I'd ever gone to with real estate investing a few years back. And it was called Massive Income Strategies. And I sat on that floor and I just read all the books. And within the same day, I had bought yellow corrugated signs, bought the stakes, got the black magic marker, wrote We Buy Houses in my phone number, printed out all the seller scripts, went the next day at 4:00 in the morning, started putting them around the town. Nothing happened. Did it again the second week, the third week. Finally, my phone started ringing. And within 45 days, I put a home under contract, found an end buyer, wholesaled it with $10 down, and I made $7,000.
Nice.
I was able to save my home from foreclosure. And from that point forward, I never stopped and never looked back. And that was the beginning of my career. It was like I found what I can do. I found what I'm good at. So that's how I got
That's
started.
awesome. That's awesome. So you really didn't have, I would say, there really wasn't so much an aha moment or an event that necessarily took place that said, you know what, enough's enough. It was just more of, you know what, fuck this shit. I'm out there to give more to this world, and let's go, kind of a thing, right?
I mean, at the time, I didn't really think I was going to give anything to the world. I never saw anything other than I just was able to make money, save my home, and have a way out when I never thought there was a way out. But real estate investing has always given me a way out. In fact, I've started my business a couple times throughout my story, which I will tell you about eventually. But real estate investing was always there for me to help pull me out, because real estate doesn't care if you're a woman or a man or black or white, or if you've been to prison, or you dropped out of college, or you have no money. It's an open playing field for anybody. And so I love real estate investing because of that.
That's really impressive. I really love your story. You know, like how you overcome all that stuff. And a lot of people don't do that, you know, but you did, and you have become successful now. And now you have a business, and you are trying to change people's lives too, and share your story with others, because this is a story that a lot of people needs to hear. You know, there's so many people out there that they really need to start listening to these kind of stories, because this is what changed people's life. You know, all the bullshit that we see sometimes on social media and all that fake stuff. Like, we need to be real. And that's what I love this story, because you're sharing exactly what happened before you became successful and start building your real estate business. So that's awesome. I really appreciate
That's
it.
right. Absolutely. And I'd like to kind of piggyback on that too. You know, I think, you know, a lot of folks that, you know, are tuning into folks online, all they see is the glamorous lifestyle. You know, they see the mansion, they see the Lambos, they see all this other stuff, and they just assume that this is something that's always been there, that this person had it easy, you know, that, you know, they had some sort of shortcut in life, or whatever the case may be. And I think it's incredible that, you know, somebody like you can, you know, basically, for all intents and purposes, you know, hit rock bottom and say, you know what, I can do better than this. There's more to this world, you know, that I want to give, and, you know, let's go. And like Pedro said, I think a lot of folks are in a situation right now where, you know, there's bad things happening in their life that are, you know, telling their mind that, hey, look, I can't do this, you know, and it's holding them back. Right. And what we really want to convey to people, especially in this group, is not only, you know, if you're in a bad situation, you can overcome it, but, you know, real estate is a great segue to help pull you through. And it's just like you said, real estate doesn't discriminate. If you put in the work and the effort and take action with this stuff, guys, you know, you can do exactly what Candi has done. You know, she has really overcame, you know, a lot of things in life that, you know, that
in the beginning, when I used to speak, I never told the real story. I never told it. I didn't want people to judge me because, you know, people are going to judge me, right?
Sure.
And I didn't want them to judge me, but for some reason, so about 3 years ago, I started speaking on adversity, and I kept it separate from my real estate investing stuff. But I would talk to the single parents. I'd talk to people who've been to jail and prison. I'd go after that crowd, you know, of people who've been in some really bad situations. And so I started talking about it. And then one day I thought, you know what? This is my story. This is how I became a real estate investor. Even some people in my family say, are you sure you want to tell people that? Because it's pretty, you know, moms and dads don't really want your stuff out there. They just don't. At least mine, you know, they support me, but they say, do you really need to tell people that you were a dancer? Well, yeah, I kind of do, because it kind of was a big part of me and why I worked so hard to get out of that life. I didn't want to be in that life. That life is not a good life. I mean, sure, there's a lot of money in there, but there's a lot of drugs, there's a lot of bad people, there's a lot of drinking, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in clubs, much less a strip club, right? So yeah, it was a big part of my life. And so, you know, after I got my business built up, I met another guy. Yeah. And so Yeah, just continuing on the path of train wrecks. But and remind me to tell you about my thoughts on dating and that, because it kind of is good now. But I met another guy. I end up rebounding with him. I was still trying not to go back to my ex, because I know, even though he was such a bad guy, I hadn't done the work to get healed from it. You know, abuse is just a horrible thing for kids, for adults, for women, for old people, whatever. It's horrible. And I was trying not to go back to him. And so I met this other guy, I guess it kind of like a rebound or something. And I was doing great in my business. I'd started a short sale negotiating company. I was like flipping the short sales like left and right. I mean, 20 grand a pop was not even exciting to me anymore. Like, 20 grand, whatever. Like, this is how good the short sales were when the market was tanking. And then eventually government got involved and started putting in rules and regulations. But in the beginning, it was the wild, wild west. You buy it, you can negotiate it, you could sell it, you would flip it. It didn't matter. You just did it. And that was cool. And so I met this guy. I ended up getting pregnant. And I stopped working because he's a multimillionaire. And I stayed home with my baby, for the first year. And after the first year, I realized I wasn't in love with this guy. Now, again, lots of money, but I was miserable. Now, there's a point here, guys. Money doesn't make you happy, okay? That's twice now.
Good point.
That was a great point.
Great. I mean, anything I wanted, tons of money, but I was miserable. And so I called the wedding off, and then we never heard from him again. That's it. So I never thought in a million years I would be a single mom. I never thought it would happen to me. I thought it would happen to other people, And, but it did, it happened to me. And I ended up going home to my parents, and I had everything pretty much taken from me. I mean, my car was taken, all my belongings, my clothes, I had nothing. I had like $5,000 left to my name. And so I moved in with my parents and my 1-year-old, and here I was again. I was just like, shit, why does this keep happening to me? Why? What am I doing wrong? Obviously I'm choosing the wrong people, which I finally woke up and realized that. But why does it keep happening to me, right? And so I decided, I was really depressed again. And I was just like, what am I going to do? Now I got a baby to take care of. And both my dad and my stepdad were like telling me, go get a real job with benefits. Go get a real job.
Of course, right?
Right? Go work at Starbucks, they told me. Go work at Starbucks and get some insurance. And I was like, are you serious? I'm not going to work at Starbucks. This is not happening. Well, I would fight them every day. And I understand, they're my fathers. Like, they wanted to make sure I was going to be able to provide for my baby. And I was like, I'm not going to be a Starbucks barista. No, I'm not going to do that. And so I would rent a car, and I would drive 2 hours to town and 2 hours back, 4 hours round trip, plus the time I had to drive around to Atlanta because I was living at the lake, and I had to drive into Atlanta because this is where I wanted to get my business started again. And so, and the first time I got it started was in Florida. Now I'm back in Atlanta because I have a baby and I'm back home. So I was going to Atlanta. I'm sending out my yellow letters to pre-NODs, notice of default, because I had already been doing short sales before I stopped working and got together and had, a baby with him. And so, so I start sending out the letters, I'm driving around, I'm doing all the things that we can do as active real estate investors, which is legit driving around neighborhoods, seeing which ones do you want to work in, looking for abandoned houses, looking for whatever you're looking for. Like, sometimes I don't even know what I'm looking for. You're just there. You're just like, I'm going to find it. Like, if you're hungry enough, you're going to find something, And so I get this call from this lady, and she's next door neighbors with Missy Elliott, the rapper here in Atlanta. And she's like, my home is in foreclosure. It was $1 million plus home, and she had 2 mortgages on it. And I started working that short sale. I worked a few short sales, but I worked that short sale. It took me 9 months to finish that short sale because the banks kept saying no. One would say no, another would say no. I'd open it up again. I'd just open it up until they were going to tell me this house was going into foreclosure. I'd open up another offer, right? And so for 9 months, I did this. At the end of 9 months, I had closed, the regulations had changed. So now I had to close on the home before I could put it up for sale because they didn't want us to be making money off of them. So now it was extremely risky, but I knew the numbers. So I closed on this home. I found the money to close on this home and I sold it within 2 weeks. I made $75,000, $75,000 on one deal.
Incredible.
So I was like, I'm back.
Here we go. That's right.
That's good. That's really good.
So now I'm back. Now I'm able to buy myself a car because, like I said, I had no money. I was living at home. Like I would be like, my mom would have to like drive me around. I didn't have enough money to buy me another car, you know, like, so times were tough. And it was good though. My mom and stepdad were really good. They were there for me and my daughter. I mean, they were great. And but you know, they could only say, we'll just take care of you, we'll feed you, you know, but that's all we can do for you. So, you know, if it wasn't for them, I probably have been, you know, homeless or something. But I know that I have friends and family, but I'm saying I know this happens to single parents. I know that they do end up homeless because they don't have family to support them, and my heart goes out to them. So within a matter of another couple months, I had gotten another call from another lady that was in pre-foreclosure and bankruptcy. That lady ended up deeding me her property. I did a creative financing subject to the existing mortgage deal with her. And this is where all this comes in. This is where like knowing how to make deals work really helps in a real estate investing world. A lot of people get stuck on knowing how to make a deal work. There's all kinds of ways to make a deal work. I just was like, I was like ballsy enough to be like, you know what I think you should do? I think you should deed me your house. Yep. Deed me your house. I'll catch up your second. I'll refinance your first into my name when I can. And yeah, that's what I'll do. And she did. She deeded me. She deeded me her house. I put like 25 grand into making it livable for my daughter and I. So now within a year, I've made, you know, 75 grand on the one deal, other deals I'm working on. I've bought a house for me and my daughter. And now I'm a single mom. There's no way I could have gotten a loan from the bank. I didn't have the credit. My credit was shot. I didn't have the money like to put down for a real loan. Like because everything's like a real loan, like a real job. If you notice, like everything is like
sure,
yeah, money, right? And so now we're living here. And I've got deals going. I find another house in the same neighborhood. I renovate it. Within a matter of 2 months, I flip it. I make another 70 grand. So I'm legit back on top within a matter of like a year and 2 months of being almost homeless. That was the second time I started my real estate investing career. Again, with nothing, but I was able to start it because of creative ways to do real estate.
You know, and it's great that you're sharing that part of your story because there's a lot of people out there, especially in this group. We know there's new people trying to get into this industry and they're scared of doing it, or they think that they need the money or they need the resources, when in reality, you don't need all those things to start. And you're living proof of that. You know, you are a great example to the people watching us here in the group that you don't really need to have all your stuff together in order for you to start your business, start making money, and get out of whatever problem you're in.
Yeah, and you know, I'll tell you what one thing I had was some education. I had gone to a seminar, I had learned. I tell everybody, you're gonna have to get educated. I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to do it. You're gonna have to figure out a way to do it. Now, there's so much available for people online to just
YouTube.
But there's also courses and programs and people that they can learn from too. But somehow you're gonna have to get educated. You just are. But that's the one thing that I had. And the other thing I had was I was hungry. I didn't have a way out. I didn't have another way out with both times. And so you gotta somehow push that fear to the side, because you're gonna get no's, you're gonna stumble, you're gonna say the wrong thing, and it's not gonna sound right. It doesn't matter. So what? What's the worst thing that can happen to you? Never see those people again? Okay, you know, go on to the next one. Learn, what did you do wrong? How can you do it better? Now you know the questions they're going to ask you for the next time. Like, it's really scary. It kind of, when you feel like you got to call them, you got to ask them all these questions, and you got to show up, and you're like, oh, what am I going to say? I heard somebody say, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person, and you can't say the right thing to the wrong person. So it's a numbers game. You just got to get out.
That's right. And they don't know any better if you're screwing up or anything like that. I remember when I got into the industry, I'd been in sales for a long time, but, so I didn't really have a problem talking to folks, but where I was overwhelmed and I was really scared at first is with the repairs. How am I going to factor in the cost of repairs? How am I going to factor in what the house is worth now? What is it going to be worth down the road? I was scared shitless of all of that. And so one day, I just had to dive in like everybody else that's in the industry and just say, hey, listen, you know what? I'm probably going to screw up. I'm probably going to fall on my face a few times, but as long as I can learn from that, I'll know that I'll be a lot better, down the road. So absolutely.
Yeah. I don't think I didn't know how to do repairs and stuff when I first started. I just knew what the houses were selling for, what I could pick it up for. I know I could make money on an assignment fee. And I just learned along the way, I just learned. It was like school of hard knocks. I learned a lot. I learned a lot big time. I mean, there's a lot of along the way of renovations and how to pay contractors and what to do, like how to set expectations and what to put in the contract and how to make sure that they're doing everything they need to do right. Like we haven't even gotten into that part of like me doing the renovations. But I mean, I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars in mistakes that I've learned along the way, but I've made millions, so it's like, okay, whatever.
You had to make those mistakes. There's the education, right? And I tell you what, when you lose some money on a deal, you'll never forget. That'll be the best learning experience ever, right?
Oh yeah, and like when I would lose money on a deal, I'll be like, okay, I'm not going to do that again, or I'm going to do this differently next time. That's all you can do. You can never really get your money back from a contractor. Contractors will break you if you don't have the right ones, or if you don't know what you're doing, or if you're just too stubborn like me not to give up. But they can break you. but with that being said, I mean, it's just trial and error or getting educated from somebody that eventually can help you. Maybe, and I'm not saying like me, I'm just saying from somebody, like that can help you get to where you want. And maybe you will not make so many mistakes and lose so much money and waste so much time. You know what I mean? But it's a trial and error, school of hard knocks, however you get started, just get started.
Sure. And I think that a lot of the key is, just like you just said, just take action on it. When you hear folks talking about doing these deals with little to no money down, with it costing, not a whole lot, to make a $10,000 or $20,000 assignment, that's really true, guys. She talked about, kind of getting her start with bandit signs and driving for dollars, things like that. That's exactly what I did. And what a lot of folks do as well. Use those mechanisms. While they might not be the most fun things to do, nobody wants to go driving around for days, looking for houses, to maybe possibly come back with nothing. It sucks going up and putting up, for me, it was 100 signs every Friday, and I'd have to go and take them down every Sunday, because if not, I got fined at $75 a pop for those. But the key is to put in that work, to create that action, get that first deal, and you can start exploring some other options. But the reality of it is, when you hear folks talking about, making something from nothing in this industry, it's absolutely possible. And the key is just saying, hey, I'm going to take that first step, put my foot forward and look back.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I never stopped. I just continued to evolve. I have real estate investing ADD. And so I get really bored with doing the same thing. And I'm kind of like that in general. Like I just get bored of stuff. I like challenges. I like to learn new things. And I think it's probably because of my past. Maybe because it was just so wild that like the normalcy of like something just becomes a little boring to me. So like sure. The excitement and challenge and stuff. And, after that, I went on to just, kill it. I've flipped into multiples of hundreds of homes. I don't know how many. I've done all of it, wholesale, short sales, pop the top, did pop the tops where you take off the roof and then add another level. Quick fix, gut job fix, and flips. I mean, I've made some huge pops, and I went on to just building my business back. And now I'm doing like 3, 4, 5 deals at a time, because now I've got multiple partners. They want to put money in. I'm doing renovations. I'm doing fix and flips. And this is like hard stuff. Short sales, okay. Wholesales, easy. Renovate and flip, you got to run a crew, project management, you got to know all that stuff. And that is also something that you learn. You cannot know it. Well, you can learn it, but you don't really get good at it until you really are on the project, right? Kind of like with anything. But
right.
I was doing that. So I bought that home in 2012. In 2014, on my birthday, my house caught fire. My daughter and I were in it. We barely got out alive, and the whole thing blew up right in front of me. And it was massive. It was called the Inferno of Brookhaven. It was on the news. There was 13 fire trucks there. They couldn't get it out. 2 of the firefighters went to the hospital. I ran out, barely just grabbed my daughter. We didn't have shoes on. We didn't have, I didn't have a phone. I mean, nothing. It happened that fast.
Jeez.
And so I'm like, well, shit. Look, here I am again, right? What am I gonna do? And I'm thinking, I'm working on 5 projects. All of my files were in my office. My backup drive was on my desk. I lost everything. And I mean, if if you're doing renovations and stuff, I mean, you've got budgets, you've got expenses, you've got phone numbers of people to call, you've got your all of your design picked out, whether it's the paints or the tiles or whatever, in order to keep the project going. If you're a good project manager, you have all this stuff planned out. Well, now all that stuff was gone, and I was like, man, like, this is crazy. And it was so big that it came out and burnt my car up too. So then
Of course, right?
I was like, God, you clearly don't want me to have anything. I need to know why. Because
well, clearly you're a strong person, no doubt. So how did you overcome that?
So that was really hard, because I started getting anxiety attacks. Literally, I was feeling like I was having strokes, and I felt like I was gonna just die. And I would just go to the urgent care and sit out in the parking lot, like, okay, well, at least if I die, I'll die in my car, because I couldn't go in every single time I thought I was gonna die. And I used to think people made up these things. I used to think like, oh, anxiety attacks, oh, they just can't handle a little bit of stress. Well, now I'm getting them, and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, I realized they're real. And so I was just like, okay, so after that, I had to start rebuilding. I fought with the insurance company for almost 2 years to get all of my money. And I did it on my own, because I know how to fight banks, because I did short sales for a long time. And it was like, this is my money. I'm not handing it off to anybody else. I'm going to get my money, right? It's like the gangster in me. I'm getting my money, bitch, So,
Right.
but they don't want to give it to you, right? Because like they're insurance. So they're like trying to say no, and I'm figuring out ways to get it. Anyways, it was owed to me. I got it. They were great. I would recommend them again. In the end, they gave it to me. And in between all of this, I ended up finishing all 5 of my projects. I fired 3 contractors in that time. And these are head guys. They always had a problem with the head guy. My subs were always great, but the guy that was running the project was always my biggest headache, is always my biggest headache. I don't know why, it just is. And so I ended up firing the one guy. He had already done 2 projects for me. We had made a lot of money, but contractors self-destruct. Anybody in the business knows this. They're contractors. They're, and I make jokes. I'm like, most of them have been to jail or prison, including me. And so like, we're just jail. We're out there just trying to make it work. A lot of them are drinking, having problems, like whatever. This is just this. I'm part of this group, but I got to a level where I finally wanted to run my own business. And so, but what I'm saying is like, I had to fire him. And then another guy, they had done some projects with me, and I ended up having to fire them because they were not doing what they were supposed to be doing. And then the third guy, same thing. They weren't doing it. So my point is that during all this time of having these anxiety attacks and having to move into another place to live while I was fighting the insurance company and taking care of now at this time, my daughter, she's 4 years old now. Okay. So I'm still having a daughter throughout all this. I'm a full-time single parent since she was 1. And so I'm doing all this, and I started running. And so I became the builder, and I wasn't a builder. I didn't want to be a builder. I want to be the main guy. But I learned how to do everything because, again, it was just showing up every single day, 2 to 3 times a day, making sure the guys were there, making sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. If they aren't there, calling them, finding them, firing them, whatever it is. And so because of that, I ended up learning how to take all of those skills, and eventually it would morph into 2016 when I got a home under contract through an online auction that I had won. I ended up knocking that home down and building a 10,000 square foot home that we had put on the market to sell for $2.75 million. And I was able to take all of the things that I had learned along the way to do this house. And that house was unbelievable. We made like 30% return on our money, on our investment, and we made like over $600,000 on that deal. So it was really nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And after you made that deal, that's what you mentioned that's what helped you to decide to move to Spain. What made you decide to move to Spain?
So in the meantime, I ended up picking up some properties in between all of that. I turned the house that I had built for myself into, I just made it so nice to where I could furnish it, rent it out fully furnished to the movie industry or corporate. Picked up a bunch of other properties in Florida, as well as this duplex in Atlanta. Dropped about 50 grand getting this duplex. I'm in it right now because one side's not rented out for like 2 weeks. Just happened to work out while I'm home. And so put 50 grand into it, got it all ready, got it all nice and, grays and whites and furnished it. And now we rent this to the movie industry and then the rentals in Florida. And so I kind of fell into this niche of renting fully furnished places to either corporate or the movie industry here in Atlanta. And it's not, Airbnb is great. I love Airbnb, but mine's not Airbnb. It's like Airbnb on steroids. Right. So Airbnb makes a lot of money. Mine makes more. And so now I have all these properties bringing in money. I have this money that I just made with this biggest deal that I've ever done in my career. And so I started, in 2018, I was asked to do a film documentary, in Spain and France. And so I did it, and I think it's supposed to come out in like 2020. Who knows? They say it's going to come out. And when I went out there, I think I was in a point of my life where I was just not happy. I had done all this with my life, and I was like, I'm not happy. I'm bored. I'm lonely. I'm at the top of my game. I have a brand new home that I built for my daughter. I've got money again, and money's not making me happy. And I'm like, what am I going to do? So I did this film documentary. And wouldn't you know it, this film documentary was so amazing that it was all about like, it was like so deep. It was like, they had like psychologists and counselors and people there. And something happened with my mind because I realized that, okay, I met this girl, Kira, I can say her name. She's one of my really good friends and she's a coach. And I talked to her and I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I'm not happy. I said, I think what I want to do is I want to write a book and I want to speak. And I want to speak to the masses and I want to speak to people that are overcoming adversity. And I want to speak on real estate investing and I want to coach. And I don't want to be a project manager every single day. I want freedom. I want to travel the world. I want to do all these things. And she just looks at me, she goes, so do it. And I was like, that's it. Okay.
That's it, huh? Just go.
Yeah, that's it. Just go for it. Just do it.
And let me tell you, I did it. She coached me to be able to do it. And I said, but Kira, I can't do this. I'm at the top of my game. I'm like known as the millionaire flipper. Like I mean, I'm literally saying this kind of stuff. I'm like, people know me as like, and I was really stuck with who people knew me as because I had finally made this name for this. I'd finally made something for myself. Like I finally went from like something where I thought I was never going to be anything, and then into something that people respected. And so I felt like I couldn't do that. And then I felt like, who walks away at the top of their game? Like I got crews, I got everything. But she goes, but if you're doing the same thing now, 5 years from now or 1 year from now, are you going to be happy? And I was like, no, I'm not. And so I did it over the next year. I was working with her. I was taking Spanish lessons. I wanted to move to Spain so that I could learn Spanish. And I wanted to move to Spain to travel Europe, to do all the stuff that I wanted to do with my travels so that my daughter could learn Spanish, so that I could get inspired to write books and speak and stuff. And now here we are. Like I spoke this week. I'm speaking to you now. I got asked by Ryan to speak at the event in April.
Oh, you'll be nice. Awesome.
I'm super excited. Like all these things were finally moving for what I wanted to do, but it took time to get there. And I had to like say, like, I gotta do what makes me happy. And in the end, like it's gonna not only make me happy, but it's gonna help people too, And so it's like a win-win. I just had to take a minute to like give myself permission to step out of my life and make a huge change. And it was hard. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to get there, like I told you, but we're doing now. We're living in Spain, and I'm doing setting up a whole team here on the ground in Atlanta that we're doing wholesales, but I'm trying to grow it. I'm coaching now, so I know we'll talk about that, but like all the things that I wanted to do, I'm finally doing. So
it's awesome.
That's crazy. And I'm glad to see that nothing stopped you from moving to a different country, because I have the same background. I moved from Guatemala to the US 6 years ago, and that shit went easy at all. It was really, really tough, especially when you're alone, you don't know nobody, and it is hard to move to a whole different country. So I know, but that experience helped you grow a lot, and understand that there's more stuff out there in the world and that can help you, like in your business, for your coaching and your writing and all that stuff. That definitely is going to inspire you a lot to grow that part of your business and your career.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not easy being over there. I miss my family. I miss things about the United States. It's a little more challenging than I thought because it's a whole nother language, which is why I wanted to move there. But it's really challenging. I like learning another language, and so. But again, the thing is that I wanted to move for a challenge. I wanted to move because I was not happy. I was bored. I was kind of like in a rut. Like things were good, but it just felt like I'm just doing it on autopilot at this point. And I knew for a long time I wanted to speak and I wanted to write, but I just wasn't doing it, because I was busy. And every single time a project would come across my lap, I'm like an addict. I see the numbers and I'm like, I got to do it, because there's so much money to be made. But now that I'm in Spain, I can't do these projects. And so I have more time. I'm like forced to focus on the things that I really want to do, which is kind of weird when I say that, but we all do that. We all really want to do something, but we just keep doing whatever we're doing, right? And so I did. And now, it's been great. And I know in like another year or 6 months, I'm going to look back and I'm going to be like, wow, that was really challenging. But I'm gonna be speaking fluent Spanish like fast, because right now I'm kind of slow. But and my daughter's gonna be fluent, and it just adds another chapter to the life, to my life and to my book. And quite honestly, I want to speak in Spanish one day from stage as well. But those are goals. Those are just goals, and it's fun. It's fun reaching goals and doing things when people say you're never going to make anything of your life, and you have all odds stacked against you. And I like to just show people that you can really do anything you want, as long as it's going to be hard as shit, but you can do it. And the thing is that it's going to be hard, but the reward is like unbelievable. That's what we go for. Like that's the feeling. Like that's the feeling that we want, is like, we want that amazing feeling when we reach something. And that's why I keep doing it. That's why I keep going after challenges. And then I'm like, and it's hard. It's hard. I mean, it's hard being a full-time single mom living in Spain. I mean, my family's not there to help. And, even the gym doesn't have a kids club anymore. So my fitness, I still get it in, but not as plan. I got a nanny now, and she's helping me. But it's like all these things are hard. And sometimes, I mean, I was crying because I had been pickpocketed, and a guy tried to break into our house, or into our flat. Somebody stole my $700 scooter that I had locked up. They cut the lock, and there was a homeless guy sleeping outside my door the other day, and I'm just like, what the fuck? I was like, Spain is crazy, but at the same time, that's just how it is over there.
I remember your stories talking about the riots and stuff like that in Barcelona.
Yeah, there was riots. Crazy. I was there experiencing riots. I mean, the streets are on fire, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on over here. These people are crazy. And I was like, but I like it.
It's going to be the same experience when Barcelona is going to win the Champions League. So you're going to experience, it's going to look like a riot because those guys lose their shit when the team wins. So.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited for that.
So tell us more about the coaching that you're doing now. I'm sure the people would like to hear more about it. Yeah.
So I have two different coaching programs. One is for newbies that are just breaking into the market or the industry. And they want to learn about how to find motivated seller leads. It's more towards offline lead generation, because online lead, and I'll tell you why afterwards, but offline lead generation. Also about, seller psychology, what to say to the sellers, how to talk to the sellers, how to, whether you're on the phone or whether you're in person, how to read the sellers, how to talk to people, not everybody knows that, but there's a secret to it. It's pretty easy. And then, also how to raise private funds, outside of hard money lenders. They need hard money lenders. I got plenty of those. But also how to raise private funds so that you can start eventually making a lot more money, because I started with hard money. But as you start to get better or do more deals in the business, you want to look for money where it doesn't cost as much and it's not as stressful, because they take a lot. But and then also how to use, we have a program that we train on, and that also helps them to find the motivated seller leads, helps them to find the cash buyers so that if they're wholesaling, they can sell it, how to do all of the yellow letters and the postcards and the ringless voicemails and the text and all that. And so we also talk about exit strategies, which is what I touched on here, that there's more than one way to make a deal work. So we talk about that. And then also we do touch on scaling. So setting up systems to make sure that your leads aren't falling through the cracks. And so that's kind of the beginners program that I train on. The advanced program is an online lead generating program that my partner and I have come up with as a system, and it's bringing in extremely qualified, motivated seller leads. And we're getting like less than $70 a lead right now. And this isn't just bullshit leads. These are legit leads of people that understand what we're doing and that have given us the information that we've asked for. And we have been working with different clients, and so far, they're getting like, they put $1 in, getting like $5 or $6 out on average. Some of them are getting $1 in, $9 out on average, not claiming that's across the board. But what we're doing is, for instance, one of our clients did $500 a day for 2 weeks. So that was $7,000, and they ended up closing 4 deals, which equated to 60 grand. So you can do that.
That's a return there.
It's an amazing return. I don't think there's anything like it on the market that we've seen. And so for that program, we have combined both programs. So if they, like, we kind of separated them. So if you want to start with the beginners and just do that one, you can. But if you want to do online lead generation, then you also get this course because, you know, look, we can all be experienced real estate investors, but not everybody understands how to scale, and not everybody understands exactly what to say to the seller. And some of them need to understand exit strategies. And so we just figured we'd conquer the market, and that's what we're doing. And that's what I'm doing. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, feel free to reach out to me. Massiveleadgeneration.com is our lead system program. But other than that, I'm on Millionaire Flipper on Instagram, so you can hit me up, DM me. I'm on Facebook. My personal is Candi Rose. My business is Candice Rosenberg. So yeah, just reach out to me and we can get on a call and talk pretty much. See where you're going, where you want to go.
You said massiveleadgeneration.com, right?
Yes.
It's going to drop here in the comments right now so people can find you and connect with you, you know?
Yeah, awesome.
So massive lead generation.
Questions come through there by chance? Is there any questions?
Yeah, if the guys watching right now, if you guys have any questions, this is the time. So ask.
Absolutely. You know, I know that there's a lot of folks, you know, as we always say, there's a lot of folks that I know have been thinking about getting into this industry for a long time. And for whatever reason, you know, something's holding them back. Well, you know, I truly think that Candi's story is absolutely inspirational. And she's literally shown you guys, look, if you know, been through a ton of animosity and overcame it, not just once, but multiple times. And in multiple countries too, in multiple languages. So, you know, if she can do it, you know, God knows that, you know, anybody else can do it as well. You know, it's just a matter of you know, just saying, you know, wanting more and taking action on that.
You know, one of the things that I just recently learned when you speak two languages, a couple of months ago, I was stressing about my punctuation and my grammar in English and all that stuff. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck this. The point is to get the message across. I don't care how many mistakes I do. You know, it doesn't matter anymore. But your message is the most important thing because that's what's going to change people's life. You know, maybe having some mistakes here and there is going to make unique my content. You know,
that's right.
Yeah, I don't know why. I've always loved this Spanish. Not so much Spanish. I would say I always had a lot of South American friends growing up. So Puerto Rican and Colombian and Cuban. I lived down in Miami for a little while. And so, you know, like I always just liked that, you know, culture. And now, you know, I'm over in Spain and I always wanted to learn the language. And I work with guys from Mexico a lot here in Atlanta. And I love working with them. They're like my favorite. And I just wanted to learn Spanish, you know, and then I never really thought I would want to learn Spanish to speak. But it's funny how your life sort of ends up sometimes, because what I know is that if you just follow your heart, as long as you're just like, you have a dream and you have a desire, if you follow your heart, like even if you don't know how you're going to get there, you just make a goal and things start working for you. So long as you start taking like the little steps that you need to get there. Maybe it doesn't go exactly like what you thought, but you can get there. And like what's in your heart, like that's what you need to be doing. Like life is short. And they always say, if you work doing something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I believe that. I can go and speak now. And I used to be terrified of public speaking up until like 3 years ago. And I getting on stage now, and I started small. I started with like 5 people, 10 people. And then all of a sudden it got up to like 150 people. And now I'm ready for like thousands. But it doesn't happen overnight, but you start small. And, you know, I believe that like, if you're doing what you love, that's your true passion. And so many people aren't doing that out of fear, or, you know, just out of fear, not knowing that they're going to be able to make it. But you will make it so long as you don't give up. And, you know, I say like, I thought I wanted to learn Spanish because I thought I was just going to come home and start doing more projects maybe one day, and I would know how to speak to the guys in Spanish. But now I want to speak. And I thought, man, wouldn't that be awesome to get on stage and be able to speak in English and then go speak to like people that speak Spanish in Spanish? Like, who does that? Like, I want to do that, right? So
that's awesome.
That is awesome.
So we have a couple questions. We have Michael that he's asking, what was your main motivation to take action?
Well, my main motivation was the fact that I was at the time, when the first time that I started it, I was legitimately contemplating suicide because I thought I had no way out. I didn't have all the things that I thought I needed to be successful. So my brain was telling me I wasn't working, but then like somehow in my heart, I just started to have some belief in myself. And so I believed that I could do it. And I think that was the turning point. I started to have belief in myself and I said, I can do this. I know what steps I need to do. So long as all I need to do is follow certain steps. And there's a system, right? We all learn it. I learned from somebody, everybody's always learning. And so I did what it told me. And I just said, I'm going to do it until it works. And I did. I just kept doing it, even when I didn't see, like I said, the first time I was putting out the signs, nothing. I did another couple weeks. So many people give up, especially starting in real estate, because it's hard. You're not going to get yeses right away. You're not going to get deals right away. Something might not work. Maybe you got to tweak it. And you're just going to think, well, this doesn't work. But it does work. It's like the industry is being like, well, how bad do you want it? Because we're not going to just let anybody in here, so that was my motivating factor, I guess. I just felt like this is something that I was extremely interested in, and I believed in myself that I could do it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's powerful. And he was also wanted to ask what books you can recommend to empower you, or what books did you read that keep you empowered and motivated to move forward and make this happen?
I read Awaken the Giant Within, Tony Robbins.
That's a good one.
Huge for me. I love Tony Robbins. He's got some great books. I read, what is it? Money Market Makeover, Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey is like a financial guy. I also got really strong in my faith. So I didn't really talk about that, but my faith is what I really focused on to get me out of these rock bottom places. So I started reading a lot of spiritual books and the Bible and doing Bible studies. I was so lost and so hopeless. I had to have a higher power to help me get out of where I was. I couldn't do it on my own. And so I clung to that. And so for me, that's huge. And I started reading like Joyce Myers. She's got a lot of books. And Andy Stanley, he's my pastor. He also is great. He's a non-denominational, so he's got a lot of great books. And like I said, just the Bible and doing Bible studies. And so those were my main things. And now I read like, I read recently Crushing It with Gary Vee. I really like that. I still read a lot of spiritual books. I read a lot of self-help books. I've read Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, one of my favorites. I read that book a lot. I've read How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's huge. Absolutely. That is so simple when you read it.
Everybody should have a copy of that. I said everybody should have a copy of that sitting on their nightstand or their coffee table, whatever. That needs to be in every home. Absolutely.
I have that book. It's amazing. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of those old school books, the classics, those are really good. I just picked up a bunch of other books from my house. I went and got some stuff from my basement, but I'm always looking. I always look to see, like recently I read a bunch of Ryan's books because he's my mentor, he's my coach now. And so, I like to find somebody who I look up to or who I respect if they're alive and then read their books. And if they're not, I usually just look for classics, but I read more self-help, more spiritual books than anything. And so just a few of those, they're great. And if not, you can just search online and see what topic, what are you going through that you need help with right now? Because if your mind's not right, you're not going to get your money right, right?
Right.
So you got to get it all together. It all works together, guys. I'm sorry. You just got to do it all together.
That's true. Absolutely. Oh, thank you. Really appreciate you have dropped so many value in this show today. I'm sure people will appreciate everything that you've been sharing with us. I don't know if there's some like special advice or something that you would like to tell the people watching this for them to keep moving forward in their career and not be afraid of taking action, because I think that's the reason why we're here doing this, because we all here, the three together, we take action, and we have to take action in our lives to move forward and seek the life that we want to live. So what will be one thing that you will best advice that you can give to your audience?
I think, for me, it's all about taking action. You just know that you're going to be afraid, or maybe afraid isn't the right word. Maybe you're going to feel uneasy, or you're going to feel doubt, or you're going to feel like something that, you're like, it's really uncomfortable. You don't want to do it. You don't want to pick up the phone. You don't want to do it, because you're nervous, or you think you're going to make a mistake or whatever. But the thing is like, once you do it, this is what I've learned. All the things that I'm afraid of, once I do it, I'm like, oh, that wasn't that scary, So now I actually do things that scare me on purpose, because first of all, it gives me some sort of weird high. If it's like a challenge or something, and I say that like, kind of jokingly, but it doesn't, because it's like the thing that I'm most afraid of, which at one point was public speaking. I just started speaking. At one point it was real estate investing. It took me a couple of years to actually get started in real estate investing after I learned about it. Like I said, I'd gone to that seminar, and then I kind of put the books away. And you just have to get to a point where like, I don't care. I know I'm going to mess up. I know that there's going to be mistakes. I know that things won't happen maybe right away. But as long as I just refuse to give up, and also know this, there's a lot of people in this business that didn't graduate from high school, that did, like, people that you would just not, what I'm saying is, you don't have to be very smart to do this business. All you got to be is like stubborn and not give up. Follow a system, don't give up. Get your ass kicked a little bit, don't give up, right? Like, it's like because it's like anything. If you want to be good at it, there's going to be challenges. And I say that jokingly, but I got my ass kicked a lot in this business. But just don't give up. Get started and don't give up. And then like really, really understand, why are you doing it? If you understand, the reason is I can't stand my boss. I hate the way I feel when I have to work there every day. I feel like there's something more for my life. I want to spend more time with my kids. Whatever it is, you got to get real focused on that pain. Because like I said, I did a lot of things out of pain. You got to remember the real pain that's going on in your life today. And you write it down and then read it every morning. Like, I want to be a real estate investor because I don't want to have to work in a job that I don't feel valued at, or whatever it is, right? And so like, you write it down and you read it and you remember the reason why, because you can get so off track. And then just remember, like, okay, if I don't want to go there every day, I'm gonna have to do something that makes me feel real uncomfortable over here. But that's the gateway to where I want to be. So I gotta do it. And that's kind of like what I think now. I remember I have a fear of regret. That's pretty much, I think, my only fear these days. And sharks. I don't like sharks, but I have a fear of regret. I don't want to regret things. And so I fear that if I don't do something out of fear, then I'm going to look back and I'm going to regret it. That's why I moved to Barcelona, because in the end I was nervous. I said, no, I'm going to go. And if I don't like it, I can always come back, but I'm going to go, because I don't want to look back one day and say, I didn't do it out of fear. So just remember that, would you rather fear it and do it now, or look back later and regret it when there's nothing you can do about it at that time?
Right.
And I just want to add one thing to what you just shared, because that's gold. Is that once you started, never look back again.
Yeah, no. Absolutely. Don't have a plan B. Burn the bridges.
That's right.
It's okay if you're doing it as a side hustle, but eventually you got to burn the bridges if you really want to get to where you want to get to. Yeah.
That's true. Well, awesome. I think it's been great, everything you have shared with us. I really appreciate it. Trevor, have
Yeah,
something else
absolutely,
you want to
Candy. We
ask?
want to thank you again for joining us today. You've given us a lot of good nuggets, and I think a lot of folks that are watching have seen that really anything's possible. Man, just put your foot forward. Let's go. Let's do this.
Oh,
There's a ton of houses out there too.
One more thing that you ask us to remind you about your advice about dating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I could use some of that.
Ladies, men, okay. So when I was younger, I was dating people that didn't respect me, and I didn't respect myself, quite honestly. And so now these days I look back and I started dating differently after I had my child. And I wondered to myself, I was like, why didn't I date like that before I had my child? So now I'm dating with making sure that whoever I bring into my life is trustworthy and a good person and has values and someone I can trust because of my child. But I never treated myself like that. And I should have treated myself like that. I should have valued myself more. And so, no matter what you've been through or what you're going through, just know that you are loved and that you can change your life around. And just because somebody told you maybe you're not worth anything, or you don't feel like it, or maybe you don't feel like you deserve it, like you do, you feel you deserve a good person, but you got to be a good person back. And so now I took a long time off of dating too, by the way, guys. I really took a lot of time off, and I haven't had a serious relationship since my daughter's been born. I've dated, I've liked people, but I haven't had really a serious relationship because I wanted to focus on myself, and I wanted to focus on my faith, and I focused on my fitness, and I focused on my family, and I focused on my daughter, and I focused on building my business. And if anybody comes into my life and they don't add value, or they're not in line with where I'm going, they're out. I don't mess around anymore. I don't waste time. I only date somebody if I see that there's a possible future with them, or if they add value to my life in some way. And so that's my advice on dating.
Great advice. I totally agree with you. That's what I love my wife because we are on the same page. We both hustling, so we understand what we're doing, and that's important too, that you find somebody who is on the same page, because if not, they can take you out of your dream.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just end up wasting time. And I'll make a joke here because I know a lot of people are like, well, I want to go out and have some fun, and people are like, well, I love to have sex. Well, sure, a lot of people love to have sex. But the thing is that with sex comes drama. So I know we're not talking about dating, but you got to be prepared because nothing's for free. So maybe that's what you want, but then it's going to take your thoughts off of the other things that you should be working on to get to your goals, And I'm not saying I'm a saint at all. I'm just saying I try to remember where I want to get to in my life. Like I said, I'm not a saint. It's just that if you at least have these goals in mind, then you can be like, okay, yeah, I don't want to just date them just to have somebody, just to have somebody in my life, because there's so many other things you can be working on. You could be reading books. You can be creating your business at night. You can be going to the gym, like doing things that really make you a better person and get you to your goals instead of just wasting time.
Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely.
I hope you guys watching this take that advice, because that's great advice. I mean, everything you have shared with us is great. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure the people watching is going to appreciate it too. So, yeah, I don't know if you have any more questions, Trevor.
I'm fresh out. I just want to say thanks again for everything that you've brought to our show. Thanks for coming on. And again, where can folks reach out to you or find you again?
So they can reach out through Instagram is Millionaire Flipper. My Facebook is Candi Rose or Candice Rosenberg, and massiveleadgeneration.com is for the lead generating program that I have. And if they're interested in just learning how to get started and want to do the other one, again, they can reach out to me through social media. Millionaire Flipper is one of the most, I would say, engagement. A lot of my stories are there, but I'm kind of all over. You can find me somehow. I even have a LinkedIn account that I check every now and then, you know. And now we don't even need phone numbers. Like, just call me on Messenger, whatever. It's cool, you know. Like, so just
That's
look
true.
up, reach out. I'm a real down to earth person. We can talk about your goals, and if I can help you, I can help you. If not, I'm cool. We can be, you know, social media friends, whatever. So
Awesome.
Yeah, sounds great. Then, well, happy holidays, guys.
Absolutely.
You
Thanks
guys
for
enjoy
coming
your
on, Candy.
holidays.
We appreciate you.
We're
Absolutely.
gonna see you in April, right? $1 Million Mastermind.
Yep, I'll be there.
Sweet.
In
Sweet.
February, Cabo. You going to Cabo? Got a lot
That
of
that
trips.
sounds that sounds like a great idea, Cabo. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I could be there right now. Absolutely. It's 30 degrees outside. Screw that.
Yeah.
I know, it's a hard life, you know, going from Barcelona to Cabo to, you know, I'm joking.
Hey, but you deserve it, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I one more thing, guys. One more thing. It wasn't an overnight success. It took me a long time to get here. I had a lot of ups and downs in real estate. Sometimes years were really good, sometimes they were bad. But again, I didn't stop. And probably towards the end of like my ninth year was when really things, no, not ninth year. I'd say the second time I started my business back. So yeah, I started it and stopped it and started it. And then I'd say like 7 years after Georgia, maybe 6 years. And when I became a single mom is really when it took off. But there was a lot of years in between of a lot of things that were going on. And so just stick with it. Just keep learning, stick with it. And you can't lose if you just stick with it. If you just stick with it. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that, because we know nowadays we have all these people trying to sell this get rich quick bullshit, and it takes time, you know, like good stuff gets time to build, and it's not easy, but you had to do
It
it.
takes time, but it's a whole lot less time to build something like this for yourself. You can't, if you work for somebody else, you're never going to build this. Now you can buy houses on the side, but you know, you're just limited when you work for somebody else. So you gotta just like go after it and just know it's going to be some hard work. But in the end, you have the free time to go travel around the world and hang out with your family and, you know, go and do what it is that you really want to do. Like use it as a means to get to where you want to be. Even like maybe you want to be like, you want to buy a boat and be a fisherman. I don't know. I'm just saying you can do it. You can get things set up and then you go have the time to go do what you want to do. That's
right.
what I love about it.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Candy. It was a great honor to have you here in our show. And yeah,
Thank you.
really appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Awesome.
Anything
thanks
else,
again,
Trevor?
Katie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Appreciate you.
And we will see you around. Okay. Thank you guys for watching too. And if you didn't watch this live, we're gonna post this again in the group. We always do the watch party, so you guys can always watch the replays and all that stuff. And if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to her, or feel free to reach out to us too. We can answer all of your questions as well. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Candy, for being here. Thank you, Trevor, for another show, man. Love you.
Thanks, man.
And
Absolutely.
we'll be in touch.
Awesome. See you guys.